Back in 2002, there was a clash between two very odd and opposite worlds, the edgy and angsty world of the characters from Final Fantasy and the bright and colorful worlds of Disney, which came together to make the most confused baby ever. And yet, it was more beautiful than most expected. It was a game where you could hang out with Emo, Leon, and Cloud, and then go play some minigames with Pooh, a strange fanfic come to life by the one and only Nomura. Yet, along with this, they didn't want to just have a story with Disney protagonists, and they didn't want to follow the story of one Final Fantasy character that was already known, so we got the story of Sora and his giant Keyblade going around to Disney World's bludgeoning giant ants to death to save the worlds from the darkness, along with running into Final Fantasy characters. And I think this original story and the characters was a great thing for the most part, but with the creation of an original story with original characters, this story kind of took away from the effect of Disney and Final Fantasy attributes to this story in a mixed way, at least the way they do it, especially after Kingdom Hearts 1, which for the most part, Kingdom Hearts 1 story was subtle throughout. It wasn't the overwhelming focus, and we were given a simple goal to find our friends and to close the keyholes, to save the worlds, and it was enough to get us going in for the most part, and most of the Final Fantasy characters were given roles as mentors, and while not a huge role, they had a role, and while a few times the worlds chosen didn't affect the story, it didn't really matter as much because there was either a lesson at the end of it, or just by the fact that the story wasn't an overwhelming aspect to the game, playing through the world, it didn't feel as much of a filler. And even the many of the worlds had some connecting factor to the story, such as Alice in Wonderland, where Alice is one of the Princesses Light. And in Tarzan, we learned that our friends were in our hearts. Yet past this game, once the story took a sharp turn into being a hardcore story, the meaning of the Disney worlds and the effects of Final Fantasy characters were a lot less felt, because of the fact that the main story of Kingdom Hearts had no real connection to any aspect of Disney outside of the princesses and Maleficent, to which worlds that had nothing to do with the princesses were basically filler, which was almost every world for Kingdom Hearts 2, because one, there were no princess worlds, and then your other focus was fighting the organization, which is a very, very vague goal, and even once you find out the organization's goal, what they were trying to obtain, which was for you to destroy the Heartless and form Kingdom Hearts, that still gave no real meaning to any of the worlds being the worlds that they were, or for you to go to them, because destroying the Heartless, again, is a very broad plot point to pin it down and give it actual reason for this world to be here and not another world. Other than, I would say, Tron, which even if it isn't completely part of the main story, at least it had a connection to another world that was much more important to the story. Tron was truly the only world which had actual purpose to the story, and is why it's my favorite in the game. The rest of the worlds, you can drag and drop any world or movie or Disney movie in the game and it wouldn't matter. This goes for that of Chain of Memories and Recoded 2, which while the worlds in those had a reason for being there, nothing comes from each world, because it's just a retreading the worlds we played multiple times already, and just kind of felt played out. This does somewhat change in Birth by Sleep, while each world is, for the most part, had princesses of light connected to them, which has an actual effect to the story, and also there are times in which the characters learn something from the world. And these three main characters had a purpose of trying to find their friends or find somebody in general. And while the aspect of the princesses at the time didn't completely come into fruition until Kingdom Hearts 1, there were worlds that were foreshadowing for the importance of them later in the story. But again, there are worlds like Stitch that didn't have a connection to the story, but at least it tried to teach some sort of lesson to some of them at the end. Then once we get to Dreamed Up Distance, here we have a clear objective that we're trying to achieve, but again, you could put any world in each place and it wouldn't really matter. And nothing really is learned from each of these worlds too, and hell, let's do a comparison to show this. Let's look at Tron from Kingdom Hearts 2 and Dreamed Up Distance. For the Tron of Kingdom Hearts 2, the Tron world takes place inside of a computer in Hollow Bastion, where we are using this computer to find out about this lab, Ansem, and the Door to Darkness. And we need to get through this world in order to unlock the computer to find this stuff out. And being it makes sense for Tron to be in a world inside a computer, it perfectly fits the situation. And there were actual stakes in what we were doing, and the world made sense. Then we have the Dreamed Up Distance Tron, where we show up and our goal is to seal the keyhole, and we tread through the story and we seal it, and that's it. We have the stake of locking the keyhole, but there's no need for it to be Tron at all. It could have been any world. Yet, As of late, we have hope for worlds having more meaning in the future, with the most recent example of a world, and it's a world we haven't actually even played yet, which is Mount Olympus from Kingdom Hearts 3. Sora's goal is going to be learn how to become a hero so he can pass the Market Mastery exam, to which he can then go rescue the Keyblade wielders. Once again, the world fits because where else would you go in order to become a hero? Exactly. Only Olympus for the most part. And it also connects to the story too. This is how I would love to see the Disney worlds unfold in Kingdom Hearts 3. A way of making the Disney aspect for these games have actual relevancy rather than being just filler. Like, oh, I hope there's something here to do in Agrabah. Oh look, Jafar's a giant genie. I hope we can beat him. Oh look, we did. I guess we can leave now. Oh man, looks like Jafar's in one tight situation. And then we move on to our next Disney sitcom episode. Hey, don't get me wrong. Whether or not they have any purpose, I still enjoy the worlds for the most part. But after a while, you really wonder why we are going to these worlds again. Hell, even Kingdom Hearts 2, they split the worlds into 2 parts. And from what I can tell, they do it for pacing of the story. Because otherwise, there would be about 12 straight hours of main story after the Hollow Bastion visit with 1000 Heartless, and there would be no Disney worlds in that time. The worlds were used as pacing devices for the story. As a whole, it's kinda sad. Nonetheless, I still love the Disney world, and I like going to them, but adding purpose to them can make them even more enjoyable. Yet, then comes the even forgotten thing in this video, the Final Fantasy characters. You know those guys that were also part of the mighty duo of Disney and Final Fantasy? Yeah, they kind of get the short end of the stick. I mean, Disney keeps Square Enix in shape. They know their track record of making emo characters and killing people. We can't have too much of that, guys. We can't have our Disney characters beating other Disney characters up either. No, no, no. But yeah, the Final Fantasy characters don't do shit. They show up for cameos in Birth by Sleep, they help some in Kingdom Hearts 1, they do some stuff in Kingdom Hearts 2, they don't even appear in Dream Drop Distance. But I don't even need to go into detail about any of this because it doesn't matter. The characters as a whole act differently than their actual selves in their own games. Like Leon is not edgy in Kingdom Hearts 2, which he kind of is in Final Fantasy VIII. And then Cloud and Sephiroth are the same being or something? I don't know. I still don't understand that as a whole, but whatever. But even that doesn't matter. Because you can easily place new characters in these slots and it would not change the story at all. And sadly, these Final Fantasy parts of the games are kind of just fan service. And again, don't get me wrong, I like having them in the games, but they get no love in the case of importance. I would like to see them get a world or get more importance in the story, but they really are getting the short end of the stick. And overall, that is about it. For the loving relationship of Final Fantasy and Disney, their child kind of gets ignored by their father Nomura for the caring of their true baby Kingdom Hearts story and characters, which even they are ignored sometimes too. Nonetheless, I really do like the aspects of both Disney and Final Fantasy, but it's hard not to wonder about their importance in the overall scheme of things, outside of the realm of getting people to play in their favorite Disney worlds and seeing their favorite Final Fantasy characters. But that's it. What do you all think of this, or would you like to see these two have more of an effect on the story, or would you like to see them as more of the side and breather areas of the main story of the series? But that is it. My name is Arcane, and I will see you all later. Peace out.